Good morning. My name is Jason Ishii, Chairperson of the Authority. I'd like to now call to order the May 1st, 2024 Kakaako Authority meeting of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. And the time is now 9:09 a.m.
Thank you, Chair. In accordance with section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, the Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's Kakaako Board meeting virtually on Zoom. The Zoom link details were included on the meeting agenda. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom and also at our physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. The HCDA communication staff is hosting this meeting. Once this meeting begins, everyone will be muted for clear audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak. It is important that all individuals clearly state their name each time prior to speaking. This is a public, in-person, and virtual meeting, so to prevent any distractions, if you are attending virtually and you are not a board member, staff member, or HCDA's Attorney General, please turn off your video during the meeting. If you wish to provide oral testimony and you are attending virtually, please indicate so by clicking the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen. If you are attending in person, you will be called to the front of the room in the order that you signed up. All testimony will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Your testimony must be related to an item on the agenda. Before you begin your testimony, we ask that you identify yourself and spell your name for the record. When 1 minute is remaining, 1 minute remains will be called out, and when 30 seconds is remaining, 30 seconds remain will be called out. When time is elapsed, time will be called out, after which you will have 30 seconds to conclude your testimony, and then your audio will be turned off. If you are attending in person, the presiding officer will call the next testifier. Keep in mind that this is an opportunity to share your thoughts with us. If you have any questions during your testimony, neither the board nor the staff is required to provide an answer. If the authority's connection for the remote meeting is lost, the meeting will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the meeting will be terminated and the authority will continue the meeting at another notice date. Thank you. Chair?
HCDA board members, please remain visible and audible during the meeting. Also, please acknowledge you are present by either saying here or present. Let the record reflect the following members are present. Vice Chair Higa.
Present.
Secretary Apo.
Present.
Member Miranda Johnson.
Present.
Member Anderson.
Present.
Member Stripes.
Present.
Member Evan.
Present.
And then Member Sakota.
Present.
Chair, we have quorum.
Great. For today's meeting, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments after an agenda item has been presented. Individuals from the public who have requested to provide verbal public testimony on a specific agenda item are on standby and will be permitted to provide their testimony respectively. First item on the agenda is the regular meeting minutes of April 3rd, 2024. Board members, are there any comments or corrections to these minutes? If not, the minutes are approved as presented. Second item on the agenda, information and discussion. Presentation by the HCDA staff of a contemplated acquisition of the following parcels. Tax map key number 12-4-031-039, postal address 576 Halikuila Street, Honolulu, Hawaii 96813, and 12-4-031-002, postal address 598 Halikuila Street, Honolulu, Hawaii 96813, or 2-1-031-020, postal address 571 Quinn Lane, Honolulu, Hawaii 96813, from the Hawaii State Federal Credit Union for the purpose of HCDA's development of an affordable housing project at the total purchase price, which shall not exceed $10 million. Ms. Lindsay Doy Leverton, Asset Manager, will now present the staff report. Lindsay?
Good morning, members. This report is located under tab 2 of your packet. We recently learned of these properties for sale, and we wanted to bring it to your attention because we do feel that it aligns with our strategic plan goal of implementing innovative methods to develop more affordable housing. So we wanted to kind of get this on your radar. It's still in the very early stages, but we did want to make you familiar with this portfolio of properties located very close to our office at the corner of Haleakala Street and South Street. It's owned by the Hawaii State Federal Credit Union, and it's near that main branch that they recently vacated to move downtown. So the main branch did sell, so that's not part of this portfolio. But these 3 properties in their brochure, you can see photos of them. It's a little bit further down, closer to South Street. It includes a vacant parking lot, kind of near the little restaurants over there. The restaurants are not part of the sale, but that little parking lot is. There's a kind of strange looking brown building that's occupied by an accounting firm right now. That's at the corner of Haleakala and South. And then next to it is a larger, it's actually an office building, Quinn Lane. And it's currently vacant. We actually had an opportunity to do a site visit of that building on Monday. So, you know, we liked it. We took our planning staff down there to kind of look at what potentially could go on that site. But again, it's still very early. And we just wanted to bring these properties to your attention to just kind of see what your thoughts are. We are looking at potential adaptive reuse of that building on Quinn Lane. There's a variety of potential housing options that we could do. So it really does fit in with this goal of innovative methods, you know, for creating more affordable housing. The zoning is civic center zoning, so it does allow for mixed use residential up to 65 feet. So a lot of opportunity, we think, for these parcels. I don't know if you wanted to add any more.
Yeah, as Lindsay mentioned, I think when you look at the portfolio of properties that we have Block P that we acquired about 1.5 years ago from Howard Hughes for affordable housing. This is potentially another property that we could add to the portfolio to look at affordable options. It's also going to be, it also is located very close
right.
to the future rail station.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Very attractive
Very attractive
location.
location. And I think, as Lindsay mentioned, the Quinn Lane property, Quinn Lane parcel has a potential for adaptive reuse. And actually, it's also located right next to a city supportive housing project. It's called Loliana.
Loliana, I think apartments, it's right next door. That's a kind of like a transitional apartment rental for homeless or at risk of becoming homeless families.
Yeah, so very early stages. I think we just wanted to inform the board, and we're gonna tour that brown building on Thursday to see what it looks like. And we've asked them for some as-built plans. So there's a lot more due diligence before we even consider some kind of purchase.
Yeah.
But I think Lindsay and myself are open to questions.
So conceptually, I guess my question would be, are you looking then to do a tear down and then rebuild as far as affordable mixed use, or, I mean, what are sort of the thoughts for this property? It is attractive because it's like a block away from the
Yeah.
Civic Center station. So
It's very
from a
attractive.
POD
that-
perspective.
Yeah, it's very attractive that way. I think we just looking at it from a cost perspective and the type of housing we do, I think we would first look to adaptive reuse to see if we could, adaptively reuse that building for housing. We could probably use it for, I don't know if we could use it for mixed use, not a lot of street frontage on that building on South Street. But I think there's other properties in the portfolio, like with Block P, that we could probably use for some mixed use commercial on the street frontage.
Yeah, because it's right in walking distance from Salt, it's walking distance from H Mart down to Earth. I mean, it's that whole area, right? So it actually could lend itself to affordable.
And we could unbundle parking too because of the proximity to rail. So we wouldn't need to have, that much parking on the site, which leads to more opportunities for greater housing development.
Members, are there any questions or comments?
Comment.
Evan?
I think this is a really great opportunity to look into. It's certainly, it's probably an opportunity that won't come around again. And the ability to put initially maybe adaptive reuse, but in the future, possibly even greater numbers of affordable housing rental units is just great.
Thank you, Member Evans. I think that's our vision with this too. I think, don't necessarily want a land bank for land bank purposes, but when the opportunity comes up and close to the rail station, possibility for adaptive reuse and maybe even some sort of housing that targets or focuses on a certain demographic for this would be good. Lindsay research showed that the city project behind this property is a supportive housing project. And the requirement is that they have to have
One child.
one child. So that's a kind of a targeted, focused, demographic. So I think more to come, Member Everett, but I think we wanted to bring it to the board. Oh, Member Higa.
Member Higa?
I'm very supportive of this potential acquisition. My question would be for 598 Halakawila. Do we know whether there's any possibility of getting that ground lease bought out before 2033? Or is that something that we can find through this process of due diligence?
Good question. So Colliers did say that the lessee, that accounting firm is open to potentially relocating. So we would, of course, need to negotiate, how that takes place, but it could be an opportunity, to fully take the property.
Thank you.
Any other questions, members?
I do, Jason.
Okay, Member Sakura?
Hi, good morning. How does the financing work on this type of project?
Yeah, it's Garrett, you wanna?
It was the cash purchase.
Yeah, okay. I think
And
with
where do we
the,
get the
so-
cash from?
so we can get it partly from reserve housing, if we do affordable housing. We could get it from ID improvement fund.
And is that a major hurdle to get through, or is that pretty easy to get funding?
It's our fund, so I think it would just
Okay.
require board approval for that.
Okay,
And when we get into the general agenda, Garrett will kind of go over the funding that we receive from the legislature. So there also could be another tranche of funds that we can use for funding the purchase.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Sakura. Member Strike?
Well, I was also interested in where the budget would come into play. I guess, is that 10 million then, that's the cap, is that tied to some kind of existing fund or like a legislative?
I think they're asking, that's based on their asking price.
Yeah, it's basically,
Well, the purchase price says shall not exceed 10 million in your subject paragraph, but then the asking price is over 10 million.
so I think we're looking at the 6 plus the 2 plus the 1.5, and then I think if we I think the credit union prefers that all three properties be sold at one time rather than piecemeal. I think if we, in some discussions with the broker the other day, if we were to purchase all three, there could be some concessions given to the price.
Oh, okay.
But I would remind member Straits too, that the board, that we would still, despite the asking price, we would still have to do a fair market value appraisal to see where it falls in. And we'd have to do some due diligence on the condition of the property as well.
Okay, yeah, I mean, just looking at the assessed value and the asking price, it doesn't appear to be too marked up, so.
Yeah.
It seems like a good deal. I was wondering also, the type of, area median income levels you're looking at, if it were to go to support like rental housing, is that dependent? Need to know.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you have a
it could
target?
depend what we built there. So if we went 201H or otherwise, it would probably be in the neighborhood of 60 to 140% AMI, but probably not 140% AMI. That's really high.
Okay.
I think the one next door, the cities, it has is it 50% AMI or 60%? So it's a very low income range.
Okay.
But we would definitely do our due diligence and see what best fits there.
Okay, I didn't have a chance to look at how the new rules that we adopted might factor in. Does that change any of the development potential that you were talking about?
No, not on this one.
It doesn't, oh, okay. Okay, well, yeah, I'm also very supportive of it. I think it's a key location and could serve even as kind of a gateway for rail riders coming in from other areas.
Again, this is for informational only at this point, but I think the staff felt it was important to bring it to the board, before they take any further action.
Thank you, Chair.
Is there anyone else with any other comments or questions? If not, is there any public testimony? Seeing that there's no public testimony, let's go to the next item. That is the report of the executive director. Executive Director Ray Nakamoto, can you please present your report?
Thank you, Chair. The Executive Director's report is under tab 3. And I just wanted to highlight, again, we had covered this in the last board meeting, but we have one congressionally directed spending request into Senator Hirono's office for the Fisherman's Wharf of Planning and Design. And I think as Garrett will bring up in the legislative update, this planning money, if we can, planning design money, if we can get the 3 million, it's more important than ever, just because of what happened to the 20 million that was in the state budget. So I just want to reiterate that we haven't heard from Senator Hirono's office yet. But I expect that we'll hear from them soon, but just wanted to reiterate that request, and that the Kolowalo Dog Park, the crosswalk improvements are proceeding, and hoping at least on the dog park to get a July completion, and then on the crosswalk a little bit later. So thank you, board members.
Members, are there any questions for Executive Director Nakamoto? No? If not, is there any public testimony? No public testimony? There's no, this concludes our meeting for the Kakaako, so thank you very much who joined us on Zoom or in person. This concludes our business for today, and the meeting is now adjourned, and it's 9:20. We will start at 9:30 with the general board, at-large board meeting, the general board meeting. So we'll start sharply at 9:30. Thank you.
Thank you.